Peacemaker was a genuine surprise to me when I watched it. Why? Because I actually really enjoyed it. Now that may sound surprising considering Peacemaker is generally described as a good show by most people. However, most people told me The Suicide Squad was a great film too. In fact, I saw some people say it was the best DC film since The Dark Knight. Now, subjectively, it might be for you, but when I watched it, I couldn't help but be disappointed. It's not a bad film by any means. In fact, it has a high level of polish and is a very creative film. It just didn't click with me. And since it was written and directed by James Gunn, who I'm most familiar with for his outstanding work on both of the Guardians of the Galaxy films, I couldn't help but be slightly disappointed. This isn't the only reason I wasn't looking forward to the Peacemaker series. The other reason is Peacemaker himself. Out of all the characters in the Suicide Squad, Peacemaker was one of my least favourite. Perhaps it was due to me having higher expectations of his character, since I knew he was getting his own show, but Peacemaker didn't really leave much of an impression on me. This may be due to British bias, but I liked Bloodsport a lot more. He was cool, calm and collected, and felt like a real leader, yet he had these key character weaknesses which both lent itself to comedic moments for Idris Elba to work with, as well as fleshing him out and making him feel like a three-dimensional character. Add to that characters like Rick Flag, where it felt like Gunn was really trying to make up for the previous Suicide Squad film, and new characters like Polka-dot Man and Ratcatcher 2.0 pulling on your heartstrings. I've not even mentioned King Shark or Harley Quinn, and you could see why Peacemaker didn't leave much of a mark on me. However, my friends convinced me to watch Peacemaker, and I am so glad they did. Whilst not perfect, nothing is, I do believe Peacemaker to be the superior product. Why? Well, let's start with the titular character. I think it's been made pretty clear by now that when it comes to comedy, John Cena can deliver. Despite my not glowing praise of his character in The Suicide Squad, John Cena was pretty funny in that film, so I wasn't surprised when his character continued to be humorous throughout the series. What did surprise me was the serious and emotional scenes. I did not know that John Cena was as good of an actor as this, and I understand why James Gunn decided to make a show based around the character, after he himself was surprised by John Cena's acting ability whilst filming The Suicide Squad. Peacemaker is finally given enough time to develop his character and make him feel like a human being, and it completely changes how I viewed him, enough so that it has made me consider rewatching The Suicide Squad to see what I think of him now that I have all this additional information that I didn't have before. However, the real standout of the series is Vigilante, a character that I was actually familiar with since he had shown up in Arrow. Now this may surprise you, but I think I prefer the version of the character that was shown in Peacemaker. Now yes, he does feel like a Deadpool knockoff, but who doesn't like Deadpool? In a similar way to John Cena and Peacemaker, Freddie Stroma is pitch perfect as Vigilante, nailing every line with psychotic glee. And no, I didn't know that the actor was actually English before I decided he was my favourite character. That was just pure coincidence, okay? I didn't know. He's just really funny and steals every scene that he's in. Adebayo was a character I didn't expect much from, but Daniel Brooks was somehow able to make me care about a character who, in another actor's hands, could have come across as really annoying. I mean, there are times where Adebayo does something and you just end up screaming at the TV, "Why are you so useless?" She does things occasionally that remind me of Ashley from Resident Evil 4. The fact that the actress was able to inject some heart into the character and actually make her come across as cool sometimes is a testament to her acting ability. I especially loved her relationship with Peacemaker that feels like it develops naturally, with both characters getting annoyed by the other when they say or do something stupid, but ultimately coming together to support each other and show consideration to each other when it actually matters. Harcourt was one of the less interesting characters in Peacemaker for me personally, which should probably let you know how good all the characters are by comparison. The show tries to do a will they, won't they between her and Peacemaker, and it doesn't really work if I'm being honest. They don't get much screen time together, and when they do, it doesn't really feel like their relationship is progressing anywhere near as fast as Peacemaker's and any other character in the show. Let me put it this way, I feel like Peacemaker and Adebayo are more likely to get together, and she's a lesbian. However, I do think Jennifer Holland is very convincing during the action scenes, and the decision to make her team leader following Murn's death felt justified to me. I mean, none of the other characters are in any way qualified, so it was election by default, but either way, I feel like she's the character who James Gunn will have to work on the most in the second season. Then there's Economos, played by Steve Agee. This is the character who sneaks up on you whilst you're watching the series, as you initially feel like he's going to be just some background character who gets one memorable moment in the finale, or a character created just so that they can die. However, as more and more episodes go by, it almost goes from Peacemaker's punching bag to a character I feel like some people could probably relate to and understand. He's flawed and weak and sad and lonely. There's a scene in the finale where Conrad lays all his issues bare for all to witness, and you can see that Peacemaker can understand where he's coming from. They all can. All the characters in this show are lonely and need support from each other. Fortunately, while some silly things do occur to Economos, he is given some badass moments too. Robert Patrick stars as Peacemaker's evil, racist father, responsible for Peacemaker's corrupted personality. There's no redeemable feature to this man's character, and whilst that may make him seem like a weak character, in my opinion, the opposite is true. It explains Peacemaker's ideology and his struggles with his self-image. Hollywood has seen villain after villain become more compassionate and relatable, so for me it was a breath of fresh air to see a villain who was just detestable and an object that our heroes can't reason with. I think it says a lot that Peacemaker was able to talk to and reason with the butterflies more than his own father. Finally, there's Mern, played by another Brit, and I have to say that once again it's just coincidence that my second favourite character is also played by a British actor. I'm joking on this one. No, Mern is a strange character that I feel like James Gunn could have done more with. Fortunately, Chukwudi Iwuji does everything he can and is able to leave an impression despite his character feeling like the one left out of all the shenanigans that the rest of the cast go on. I think the reason I like the show more than I like the Suicide Squad film is because it's a show, not a film. I found that James Gunn enjoyed the making of the show quite a bit, so it'll be exciting to see what other shows he comes up with. Peacemaker had less characters than the Suicide Squad and more time to flesh them out, meaning that less of the characters felt one note. Character development is a strength of Gunn's, and I think it explains why the Peacemaker series has been so well received by fans, including me, who wasn't the biggest fan of the film where the character originated from. Even the side characters in Peacemaker feel like great additions to the DC universe, and I love that HBO allowed James Gunn to get as violent and as sweary as he could possibly want, with certain action scenes and visuals on par with what you would see at the cinema. I've spoken a couple times about how the CGI on Disney Plus has been a bit all over the place, and I believe this is more due to time than talent, but Peacemaker, like with Stranger Things and The Boys, has pretty solid CGI throughout. There wasn't any moments where I felt I needed to wash my eyes, and I was very satisfied with the final product. If I had one major issue with the Peacemaker show, it would be the ending. No, not the show's climax, which was a wonderful experience. No, I mean the actual ending. To me, it just felt too abrupt, and I'd probably be more disappointed if it wasn't for the confirmation of the second season. Peacemaker worked where the Suicide Squad didn't for me, as it allowed its characters the room to breathe whilst being unafraid to kill off some characters that you'll probably like, into a few tense sequences. It also distributes time evenly between the characters, avoiding the issue the Suicide Squad had, where it gave a large chunk of the runtime to Harley Quinn, despite it not leading to anything substantial in my opinion. Peacemaker was a wonderful surprise, and I'm looking forward to Season 2.